All right, guys, here we are with our new podcast episode. It's called. Apparently, I'm a one-man show.
The One Man Show.
It's called The One Man Show, starring Brian from my middle school buddy, and me, your boy, Shady G, Georgie Roykman, aka Financialism. And we are here going to talk about being cowards. Brian, when did you realize you were a coward?
Well, first of all, define coward.
That's why you're speaking so far away. No one could hear you because you're so afraid.
First of all, define coward. What's a coward? What do you see as a coward?
I see a coward as someone who avoids the question by asking definitions and focusing on semantics.
I think if everybody had the same definitions, a lot of the world's issues would be solved.
So are you saying that we need a global language?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that people need to know what the words that they're using, what the other person means before they engage in argument or conversation or whatever.
Yeah.
So what do you define as a coward?
I think...
Why are you ignoring the question and trying to go around the question? That to me is a definition of a coward.
And how do you define a coward?
I asked you first, man.
If you ever played Yu-Gi-Oh, you know the card that activates last resolves first.
Okay.
I think we're both cowards here, Brian.
I don't play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Exactly, because you're afraid of learning something new.
No, I just don't have time for that.
You do have time. You just choose to use it differently.
I do have time, and
we
the
all
time
have
I do
time.
have, I choose to use it on not playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
I respect that.
So what's a coward?
Fine, I'll bite. I think a coward is someone who avoids doing what they know is better based on those jitters in their stomach. That would be my definition of a coward.
Those jitters in their stomach, is that fear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, someone who actually withholds action based on fear. Or, you know what, you got me thinking, this is actually not a bad idea. I'm glad I thought of it. Defining things is really important. Someone who actually acts on that emotion without really considering anything else.
So you think cowardice is an action, not inaction? So you define it as...
Both. It's lack of action and action. So, for example, like, I love investing, so a lot of people don't want to invest because they're afraid, right? And they just avoid it. And I'm like, okay, it's an important skill set to learn, but you're avoiding it because of those jitters in your stomach. But then I know some investors that will act on those same jitters if there's like bad news or a market crash. They know better, but they're basing their actions on the jitters in their stomach. So they're selling all of their stocks or a majority of their stocks based on the jitters in their stomach rather than 100 years of data.
So cowardice is defined as action or inaction based on fear. Okay, so so based on fear.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. Yeah.
Would you have the same definition?
I think that's a good definition.
Yeah.
Right, what's the official definition? I think we should look it up.
Yeah, let's look up what the heck a coward even is, and why are we even talking about cowardness?
But I thought it was interesting that we went with our own definitions of what we thought was a coward before actually looking it up.
I think that's important. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's wrong to look at the official definition first.
Yeah.
But we agreed on it based on like what you explained, which I actually agree with it. So.
And it's important to challenge ourselves that way, because when we define it based on our realities, we might find that like it's okay to redefine words. So it says here, a coward is a person who lacks the courage to do or endure dangerous or unpleasant things. Excessively afraid of danger or pain. So it seems like this is a little bit different than our definition. This is someone who is avoiding danger and avoiding unpleasant things.
All right, so actually, the official definition has made me rethink my agreement with your definition.
Okay.
Because we defined cowardice as action or inaction based on fear, right? But let's just say, for example, and this is using like an extreme example, you had a child and your child was about to get run over by a truck,
Right.
and you felt like such fear that your child was going to die, you like rush out to help him. That's action based on fear.
Right.
But it's not cowardice because you're literally putting your life in danger to save your own child.
Right. I would argue. I mean, I don't think I even want to argue with that. That's a really good point. I think it's important to not assume that the reason you're rushing out is fear based. It could be a different type of adrenaline, maybe, and it's coming more
But
of
what's
like.
what's the source of that adrenaline?
I think this goes to like altruism, right? Like bees will sacrifice themselves for the queen bee, and humans sometimes
I
will
I don't think
sacrifice.
bees are a good example because bees are programmed to sacrifice themselves.
Brian, I don't know if you know this, but you've been programmed to sacrifice yourself for me since I met you. Ababanichi.
So animals act only on off of
Ignores-
instinct. Animals
You've
act,
also been programmed to ignore that statement completely, and every time I mention it, you just delete it from your memory.
I just don't know what to say to that, man.
Say to what?
What you just said.
What did I say?
You can listen to it later when you listen to this recording again.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to go with the official definition.
Okay.
A person who lacks courage.
To do
because
things.
I do recall seeing Batman versus Superman, and I do recall one thing that Batman tells Superman
Yeah.
is you don't have courage because basically Superman's invincible, right? So it doesn't take courage to be invincible.
Right.
Like the guy could, face against like 100 armed guys and stop bullets, whatever. So there's no courage in that.
Facts.
Courage only happens, and I'm talking about courage now, but courage only happens when there is danger in some way or there's some kind of risk.
Right.
So a person who lacks courage, which means now, in my opinion, a person who cannot transcend their fear. So that's what I would define as a coward. A person who cannot transcend their fear to do what they want to do.
And I think that's very telling because it kind of goes to privilege, right? Superman had this privilege of indestructibility, supposedly, or for the most part, right? He's very tough to destroy. And I think, like, for me, when it comes to investing, I had, like, my mom as, like, hey, if I lose all my money, I'm not going to go homeless, right? I don't have kids. So, like, for me, it takes a lot less courage to invest than someone who has more responsibilities. So it's a lot easier for me to see the benefit without really seeing the risk and kind of being more rational when it comes to analyzing what the risk actually is and kind of relieving the weight of it. So that was interesting, like unlocking ourselves. And that's the power right now. We just showed the power of being okay with being wrong and quickly like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And this is philosophical. So it's not even like, what is a word, right? You can't prove that that's a definition. Definitions shift. So it's really cool how we were able to kind of hop our frameworks. I think in our culture, especially in the United States, maybe other places too, people are so rigid with their frameworks. Like they believe this is a true American, right? And they can't imagine something else.
Well, now we're getting into some other stuff, but what you said about shifting definitions.
Yeah, shifting
I
topics.
I think we shifted our definition, but the word itself didn't shift definitions. Like, the word has continued to be that, and I think if you ask most people, they'll probably go with the official definition. They wouldn't go with you and me definition. So
what if it's perceived as dangerous, but remember the definition, a person who lacks the courage to do or endure dangerous or unpleasant things. And again, it's using the word courage to kind of describe itself, which is kind of cheating if you ask me, because it's like, are we defining coward by courage? And what is dangerous? Because like I would argue the stock market is not dangerous. You could use it in a dangerous way, but it in itself is not dangerous. It's like getting a shot, right, at the doctor's office or something like that. Like it's not really dangerous to do, but like we feel.
Well, it depends on what kind of shot you get.
Well, yeah, if Little John is giving you the shot, then it's very dangerous, I guess.
Okay, but
no offense to Little John.
But okay, so you could add like perceived danger.
Perceived danger.
That's fine,
right?
And obviously, dangerous doesn't only have to be harmful to your physical body. It could be harmful to your reputation. It could be harmful economically. It could be harmful to your to your relationship with someone. Like,
Well,
I think anything like that.
Here's my question, Brian. Does something have to be like if? How would we make someone brave? The opposite of a coward. Would you say a brave person is the opposite of a coward? Say that's a good antonym.
I would say a brave person is the opposite of a coward.
Yeah. So then that's very brave of you, Brian. Well then, would our goal then to turn someone from a coward to a brave person be to get rid of that perception of danger? Or
No.
Okay.
Because without that perception of danger, then there is no courage.
So then
Again, we kind of go back to the same thing we were saying before.
Right.
Superman, he's not brave. He's Superman.
he just realized there's no threat.
Right. There's just no threat to him.
Right.
Except kryptonite. Like, that's the only threat. So
This is really good, Brian, because I always people I'm too lazy. I don't got enough time to invest, and I'm like, okay, you could be a lazy investor, but now I'm like, you could be a coward too. You don't have to get rid of your fears. You just have to understand there's nothing to be afraid of.
well, I don't think transition, let's say, a person who's a coward and they become brave. I don't think that transitioning from coward to brave is removing your fears. Like, going back to that, like, you're still going to have your fears throughout.
Yeah.
It's just
But you're not
transcending
acting on
that.
it, right.
It's just transcending that. Like, not letting those fears be a wall between where you're at and where you want to be.
Let's look up what courage means, because let's see here. So courage is defined as the ability to do something that frightens one. Not necessarily doing it, but the ability to do it. That's courage, right? That ability. I like that definition, Brian. What do you think?
I agree. Because what we were saying, like, Batman, for example, he's privileged. He's really rich, right?
Sure.
He has a lot of, how do I say this? Resources to do what he wants.
Yeah.
Yet he's still mortal.
Right.
Yet he's still in danger because, people don't know who he is.
Yeah.
So not only is he in danger of losing his life when he's out there, he's also in danger of getting caught, like getting discovered, oh, this is actually Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
Or like, tarnishing, like economically destroyed, So
Yeah.
that is real courage. That is that makes him not a coward, because I'm sure when he goes out there,
He's afraid.
He's afraid.
And
Yeah.
Superman goes in like nothing.
Right. And Superman
Right.
doesn't have to be afraid, because
So
he
is
knows
that-
nothing can hurt him.
Right, and that's a good point. I feel like I'm Superman when I'm investing, and I'm talking to Batman, and I have to convince Batman that not only is this
Well, you're not
good
talking
for you-
about if you're convincing, let's just say you have somebody and you consider them a coward in regarding investing, because
Right.
I think you can have somebody who's a coward in investing but not a coward in, say, their job, for example, right? Or like not a coward when
Sure.
it comes to like relationships,
Sure.
So I think it's also important to know that a person might be cowardly. A person might be cowardly
Yeah.
for some things, but not for other things.
Well, remember Courage, the cowardly dog. So
Yeah.
he had courage, but he was still a coward, right? He
was the cowardly dog. I don't think it's the same thing.
right, but with his fears, he still had the ability to face them.
Yeah.
So everyone is courageous. Everyone has the ability to face their fears.
To answer your earlier question, you said, "What is if your goal is to convince a person who's afraid, say, of investing?
Mm-hmm. Do I get rid of the fear?
Do you get rid of fear? No, I don't think so. I think you
Invest scared?
have to have the fear there. I think you have to have the fear there, but I think you have to show them that you have to show them how to get past that fear.
Well,
So it's
okay.
not about removing that fear altogether, because I think even a seasoned investor, even a professional investor, is afraid to some degree.
Were you afraid when you started investing?
Yeah, I was afraid. I was a little bit afraid.
Are you afraid today?
Yeah, I'm still afraid.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid that I'm leading people the wrong way. That's one of my fears.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I tell people invest in this, or like like I tell my mom sometimes, like you should get this one, and I think, shit, like what if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
and she like loses her money,
Yeah.
like, or like my friends, I tell them like buy this one, like it's it's gonna go up.
Yeah.
What if I'm wrong?
Yeah.
So, and what if I'm wrong with my own money, right? Because I
Right.
usually put money into the things I tell people to invest
Right.
in. And like, what if I put $1,000 in it? What could I have done with $1,000?
Yeah.
I mean, it could have helped me with like a down payment for a house.
Right.
It could have helped me get some new clothes. It could have helped me.
And
Whatever.
most people like they're so afraid of losing money with stocks, but they're losing money every day doing nothing, right?
I tell people that too. Like you're losing money just like by leaving it in the bank,
right?
Due to inflation. You know,
So
and inflation is even worse now.
But how were you able to face like your fear? How do you face your fears basically and invest and grow wealth when everyone, including your mom, is saying, Brian, mijo, this is dangerous?
How do you do it?
Yeah, how are you doing it?
You just do it, man. I don't know. You just do it.
It's weird. That's weird. So just
do
be
it.
afraid and do it.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
I think Shia LaBeouf got in trouble for doing things too much.
Just do it. No, just do it. I'm serious. Just do it. You know, sometimes, so it's important to look at your emotions and the things that you feel, but I think people misunderstand the point. Like, I think the point of emotions is to let you know what's important. And sometimes when we're afraid of something, that is our psychology telling us it's important to us because we're afraid. If it wasn't important to us, we wouldn't be afraid.
That's true.
Say, for example, you have $1,000 and you're afraid to invest in it.
Yeah, it's important to you.
But if you were a millionaire and you had so much money, would you really be afraid for $1,000?
Right.
No, it'd be like
Wow.
10 cents.
Wow.
So like the fact that you're afraid of something, it tells you that it's important to you. Therefore, you need to ask yourself, why am I afraid of this?
Right.
And why is it important to me?
Yeah.
And I think that's where you find that's where you find the courage
Wow.
to move forward.
That's interesting because I invested like $20,000 into a Pokemon card, and I've never spent that type of money on a car, anything in my life, right? That was the biggest one, and I was like, why do I feel fear right now? And I realized it wasn't the card, it wasn't the money, it was my mom's reaction that I was afraid of, right? And I realized that, like, look, if my mom didn't have that reaction, I might have been doing this all along, and that would have been awesome because, I would have been buying these cards. They skyrocketed since 2016. When I first wanted to buy them, it was 2017, so I remember that. But it's not just about money, right? When you're investing, you're kind of being perceived as a different type of person. Like when you tell people, oh, I invest, they kind of look at you differently. Like you're in a different league or something like that. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, I feel like I sound pompous or like snobby when I'm talking about investing, or like, you've heard of like the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
So we might want to define like what imposter syndrome is.
What's imposter syndrome?
But it's basically like when you feel like you don't belong in something, or like you're doing a good job, say.
Yeah.
But you question yourself, or like you question whether you.
It's the inability, the persistent inability to believe that your success, which is that it is deserved, even though it has been legitimately achieved as a result of your own efforts. Like you feel, I guess, like, what am I doing here? Even though you took all the steps to get there.
Right.
I think that's important because when you're investing, like, I'm sitting at like a 6-figure portfolio and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? But when I look at the steps, I'm like, just invest every single month consistently, ignore the news, and it's not even my idea. This has been written for decades. Like, just do this. And I'm like, okay, I read it from all the top brokers. This makes sense to me. It makes sense to people that have way more money than me. If 90-year-old people like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are saying, hey, this works because I've done it for 70 years, I'm like, all right. But it still feels weird. Like, I never, like, you remember back in middle school, high school, I never was like money. Like, I never focused on
neither.
money.
I hated capitalism.
Wow, yeah. I think that's a good episode, too. We'll talk about, hey, thumbs up if you want to hear us talk about capitalism and communism and all that. But I don't think you're an imposter. I don't think I'm an imposter. Like, we definitely earned...
Here's I know I'm not an imposter.
Jeez.
I know I'm not an imposter, but it doesn't stop the fact that I do have those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And like, here's the thing, like you will have those thoughts when you're improving your portfolio 100%, 200%, or even like 30%.
You'll be like, is this luck?
Yeah, you'll ask yourself like, okay, I just got lucky. You'll tell yourself like, I just got lucky.
I just got lucky 5 years in a row.
Yeah, I've just been getting lucky, or
it's a bull run.
It's not really like, like I had nothing to do with it. You know,
Yeah.
it's you do have something to do with it.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a saying, right? The more prepared you are, the luckier you get.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you feel like luck did play a role for you though?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know.
Okay. I feel like, well, this is my opinion, right? I feel like luck plays a role for everyone. Bad luck, good luck. Like, there's so many things we don't control, but then the ability to take control of what we can control, that's a little bit more skill.
So let me I thought about that answer actually. I do think luck played a role,
Mm-hmm.
and let me just say I was born in the U.S. You know,
Yes, big
I
deal.
I had an education when I was younger.
Yeah.
I had a roof over my head.
Yeah.
So I had the ability. I was literate. I had the ability to read.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the ability to
All the
basic stuff. I have the
right.
ability to read.
It's only basic in the
I have
last
the
100
ability
years.
to have the exactly yeah. I have the ability to listen to someone to. So yeah, I am lucky to have those things. I would say
Right.
because somebody in a third world country that maybe doesn't have those things, that's unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
You can consider that unlucky. They just happen to be born there, and they don't know how to read. They don't know how to write. They don't have a roof over their head, maybe,
Right.
Their main focus, the majority part of the day is, what am I going to eat today?
Yeah.
So they don't have time to, read and, spend time, exploring
Right.
stuff.
And some
Yeah.
people choose that type of way of life, right? There's hunter-gatherers who just
I'm
choose.
talking about people that don't have a choice.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
The
talking
lack
about that.
of choice.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, hunter-gatherers.
So
or,
luck can be defined as the ability... luck is having choices.
I don't know. I don't know if I would define that as luck.
What would you define as luck?
Well, luck is, I would define it as something outside of our control. Just
Right.
being in the right place at the right time. That's luck. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's bad luck.
Well, chance, right? Luck
Chance,
is all
yeah.
about chance.
Yeah.
So, depending on where you're born, who your parents are, I still think, the choices. People who don't have a lot of luck probably have less choices to make, right? It's all in front of them, hey, this is your only option. Sorry, everyone in this town does this. You want to leave? Take your chances elsewhere.
Yeah, but you could say that about somebody who, let's say somebody grew up in a rich family.
Yeah.
And their whole family is doctors.
Right.
And the dad is like, you have to become a doctor or I'm kicking you out.
Well, is that luck though? Just because it's financially successful doesn't mean
That's
that
why I'm saying.
it's lucky.
Going with your example, the kid doesn't have a choice.
Right.
Right? Or he does have a choice, but it's like, hey, I put a gun to your head.
Yeah.
Give me all your money now or I'm going to shoot. That's not much of a choice, right?
Right. So you can be unlucky and have resources.
Yes. So I don't think it's about choice. That's what I'm getting
No,
at.
I think it is about choice because that kid was unlucky to have parents like that. To have them with all these resources, you're still going to live like you don't have these resources.
So since it's based on chance, I think the odds of the scenario that I said happening are really, really slim.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So basing it off of chance alone, and if we were to get all the rich people in the country, I don't think most fathers would, kick their kids out if they didn't.
What's that sound? Oh, it's that time in our podcast where we share our money story. Brian, what is your earliest memory of money?
I don't know.
That's because you were. Are you serious, Brian? Episode 1 and you don't know.
No, I don't.
I'll share mine.
Okay.
My first money memory. Okay, one of my earliest money memories. It was me and my friend Mitchell, and it was after school. I was in 4th grade, he was in 3rd, and we were going to the comic shop. But before that, my mom picked us up, and she said, I have to go to the office and talk about some things. Mitchell and I are standing on top of the staircase. I look over the staircase into the sewer, and right next to the sewer where the water would go in, there's a $10 bill, right? And this is 2004, so that's worth $9,000 today with inflation. So there's literally $9,000 and remember, this is 4th grade currency, right? $10 is like $9,000 today. And I see it there, and I'm like, oh, poo-poo. Okay, I need to distract Mitchell. So my first instinct
That means
was...
oh shit, by the way.
Yeah, my first instinct was distract my friend. And in that moment, he became my competition. And I made a plan. As soon as my mom walks out, oh, she's walking out. I start sprinting down the stairs. And guess what? Mitchell is sprinting right next to me. And I'm like, he knows. Like J. Cole says, she knows. Well, he knows. Luckily, my legs are a little bit longer. I make a left turn, and I get the $10 bill. And I'm like, yes. And he goes, dang it. I wanted that.
Yeah, I doubt that's your first memory about money. I think it's
I said early memory. Changed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said earliest.
Yeah,
so
I
that
knew you-
earliest means first.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Brian? I changed it. Because the first half of this was all about embracing change. Money.
You know why? I know that that's not your earliest.
Why? Tell me.
Because in order for you to know that $10 had value, you need
Get
to have
out of
an
here.
earlier
Get
memory
out of here.
about
We
money.
all know everyone before age 8 was programmed to know the value of money.
There we go.
Right?
But I'm saying, like, you're how old did you say you were? 8 years old?
Like 9 maybe?
Your 9-year-old self knew that $10 was worth $9,000.
Yeah.
So how did that 9-year-old
Well, here's the funny part.
unless you had a memory of the value of money that's earlier than your supposed earliest memory.
Earlier. One of
Yeah.
my early
Now you
memories.
changed it, yeah.
Hey, we can
That's
listen
fine.
back to this.
That's fine.
Anyways. What do you think of that story?
I think it has nothing to do with cowardice.
I think it has nothing to do with cowardice, but it has everything to do with greed.
Okay.
Right.
And you think greed is cowardly? Or
No, I just think I was being greedy in that moment, and cowardness, like, it didn't even cross my mind. Like, I was like, man, I'm gonna run Mitchell over if I have to. I'm gonna take that money, and I'm gonna go to the store, and I'm gonna buy that right. What? What do you mean, Mom? What do you mean I have to save it? And then my mom said I can't spend it, and I had to save it. It's like, but I literally just found it. That was an interesting lesson. Yeah, but I learned a lot. Like, I was willing to betray my friend. Like today, you know, if we go to a store, right, and we're looking for a rare Pokemon thing, and it's there, I'm like, yo, Brian.
You'll
Let's-
distract me or something, or like
No,
knock me out.
I'm saying, like, maybe I don't know. Like, if it's only one, then yeah, sorry, Brian. But if it could be split into smaller pieces, yeah, let's split it. If there's two, I'm not going to be like, oh, I take two. If
Right.
there's two $10 bills, I would have been like, hey, Mitchell, if you can win this die roll, I will let you have $1. No, I probably would have split it. So that's something that I thought about. But $5, like, we could have just split it in half. Walked up to my mom, you got change? She probably would have been so proud of me and given me my own $10 bill.
But you were a 9-year-old kid.
And even today, like, we got people who are 49 years old, and they're like, man, I'm not splitting. What do you mean split?
Okay, so what do you think is worse, a 49-year-old coward or a 9-year-old coward? I
Well,
think this is an easy question.
yeah, and usually there's depth to your questions, so I'm really disappointed, but I do think...
there is depth, I think. But it will reveal itself.
Oh, yeah? I think, well, like everything, it's degrees, right? So, in a way, 9-year-old, maybe that's worse in some elements, and 49-year-old's worse in other elements.
What elements?
Maybe that if the 49-year-old soul lived in the 9-year-old's body, and he realized, like, yo, kid, what are you doing with your time here? Like, take these risks now. Like, they will compound over time way more. So when you're 49 years old...
Taking a turn for the...
You don't believe in souls living in other bodies?
No.
Yeah, well, me neither.
Okay, all right.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of what was it?
The one-man show.
The one-man show starring Brian Fajardo and Georgi Roykman. Yay.